Hi, my name is Joe. I am still a fat black belt, and today, first off, let's talk about it is Weigh In Wednesday.
Yeah.
Weighed in at 314 pounds today, which is that is a 1 pound loss from last week, though I think I dipped into it a little bit, so like it kind of just feels like, this is what happens. You have a couple of bad weeks, or a couple of bad days even, and then you're chasing progress you've already made. But whatever, a loss is a loss, and I'm going to take it. No food today so far, no training today so far, but I have a lot to do today. I did, however, want to talk about something. This is a real quick one, but I want to talk about, because there are people in the world who want to train in the martial arts and have no idea how to do so, and I want to talk about some green flags and red flags as far as martial arts instruction goes. This is not a comprehensive list, but here we go. If they don't offer you a free first lesson, or at least the ability to sit and watch a lesson, red flag. They're hiding something, don't do that. If you show up and there's not spectators, parents, if it's a sort of place that has kids and there's not parents there, I think that's kind of a red flag. Not every school is for kids, so not teaching kids is not necessarily a red flag, more of a beige flag. It would give me a little bit of pause personally, but also that's because I have kids and I would like to be able to train with them. If you are on a contract, especially a contract that isn't just month to month for the purposes of, auto payments or whatever, that isn't for your convenience, I think that's a huge red flag. I don't think any reasonable instructor wants you stuck with them. That's been my experience. Counterintuitive, if they don't make you sign a waiver, red flag. Because if they don't make you sign a waiver, that means two things. One is they're not thinking about safety, and two is they're probably not insured. Because insurance will make them put out a waiver. So if there's no waiver, that's a problem. And for me, your mileage may vary. If you go into a martial arts studio, especially if you go into more than one class and there's no women in there, I think that's a red flag. It's bad. It's a bad vibe. There are people that get into martial arts because they want to be instructors, and there's people that get into martial arts because they don't want to have to stop training when class is over. And some of the latter are not super friendly to women, so that would give me pause. At the very least, I would call that an orange flag. If you walk in and there are students with special needs, big green flag. I think that's great. And we're talking about everything from learning disabilities, cognitive disabilities, physical differences, right? Amputations, weird stuff, walkers, wheelchairs, that kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be that drastic. It can also mean, especially in the martial arts, this can also mean old age, right? Because you slow down as you get older. It becomes harder to train, and you need, sometimes you need more rest. Sometimes you need, mobility. You have mobility concerns. So that it's not a disability really, but in the martial arts, it is a big enough distinction that I think it's noteworthy. Also, and this one is maybe near and dear to my heart, nearer than I'd like, the girth, right? There are people my size and larger, and training can be hard, stretching can be hard, and there are different considerations that instructors need to take into account there. And if they're not willing to do so, those students will bounce and you won't see them. And I don't think you want to train with somebody who can't take the needs of their students into account. Does your instructor have a social media profile where they whine and complain about politics all the time? The reddest of flags, especially if they are, especially if they're a fucking Nazi. I have trained with these guys. And I have seen these guys. I have a friend who trained with a guy who literally had said that he was training people in swords so that he could go to the Supreme Court and execute judges, and that, I shouldn't have to explain why that's a red flag. It's the reddest flag. Does your instructor have a social media profile where they post cute Star Wars memes and pictures of them and their students? Yes, please. Very green flag. Speaking of your instructor, can you find them in a database? Do they seem to exist? If you're training Kukiwan style Taekwondo like I do, they'll be registered in the Kukiwan database. Look them up. And make sure their rank matches what they have on their website. Now, sometimes it's like a rank difference here and there. Sometimes you'll be like 6th Dan in Korea, 7th Dan in the US. Like your federation has ranked you up, but the Kukiwan hasn't yet. Because going to Korea for testing can be hard. But if they're telling you that they're a master and the Kukiwan says that they're second dan, red flag, definitely red flag. And it isn't just that's not just for Taekwondo. Other federations have websites. Other federations have databases. Other martial arts, you can look people up. If you can't, find somebody you know who is in the martial arts and ask them to look them up. Find somebody you know or trust who has access to that stuff. Worst case scenario, get on fucking Reddit and be like, hey, who is this person? Are they legit? Can somebody look them up for me? They'll do that stuff. This is controversial, but I think if somebody is teaching martial arts from, like, if they have one of those signs that says they teach martial arts from like 9 different countries, I think it's a red flag. I do. If they're like, we're going to teach karate and Krav Maga and Taekwondo and BJJ and Muay Thai, I think that's too many. You're serving too many masters. I think this is a little controversial because I feel a little bit differently about it based on whether it's different instructors, different classes. Like if someone teaches karate on Monday and Muay Thai on Tuesday, and you know what I mean, like maybe there are people that can do that, but I think it's a caution sticker for sure. It goes double for me if those classes aren't all in the same part of the world, right? If somebody teaches Taekwondo, Hapkido, Gunkwon Yusul, those are all Korean arts. When you go to Korea, you train with a lot of the same guys. There's a lot of overlap there, right? Go ahead. But not all in the same class. Not all in the same class. If you walk into a class and they tell you that they're teaching you 4 different kinds of martial arts, you just found an MMA gym. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but you're better off finding a gym that just says MMA on the door. I'm not saying that you can't learn 5 different martial arts and integrate them into your life and make them part of your style. What I'm saying is, by the time you get to the point where you can do that, by the time you get to the point where you need to do that and will benefit from it, you won't be on my YouTube video looking for red flags. You'll know. You'll know the people. You know they're legit. You will know how to vet them. Because it isn't hard stuff to do. It just takes some experience. If you find a school that is offering to teach you no-touch techniques, no-touch takedowns, that is a clown flag. Run far. That stuff is not real. Clown car flag. If you walk into a school and they tell you they're going to teach you like magical pressure point techniques, here's why that's a red flag. Some of that stuff is legit. Some of that stuff works, right? There are nerve clusters. This is real stuff, and these are real techniques that you can learn. Some of them are real techniques that you can learn. Nobody credible, nobody worth studying with is going to offer to teach you that stuff when you walk in the door. Maybe when you're a black belt, they'll start talking about it. If that's in their white belt curriculum, run, because they're teaching you crap. And dangerous crap. Speaking of which, small joint locks. Fine for adults, not fine for kids. If they are teaching kids things like small joint locks, if they're teaching kids, certain types of breaking techniques, here's my litmus test. I walk into a school, and if I'm taking kids in with me, I say, hey, just so I know, what are some things that the kids shouldn't be doing, like that the adults can do but the kids can't do? And if they don't have an answer for you, do not take your kids there, because there are answers to these questions. Kids' bodies are different. Their joints are not done growing. Kids are mostly cartilage, right? They're like basically little sharks. And if your instructor doesn't know that, don't trust them with your children. They need to know that. It isn't even that hard. Ultimately, the biggest green flag is just how you feel in the studio. And if you feel good, if people are having a good time, if they're joking around, if people are not injured all the time, if you can talk to the students and you say, hey, what goes on here, and if they have opinions on this stuff, that means they're allowed to have opinions on this stuff. It's good, right? If you get a good vibe from the place and it doesn't feel, you don't want it to feel, I know in the movies it makes it seem like you walk into a martial arts school and it's going to be like a military academy and people are going to be shouting all the time. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like that, right? In exactly the same way, a professional kitchen doesn't need to be people shouting and yelling at each other, right? Like the first season of The Bear. Some kitchens are like that, but they shouldn't be like that. Some martial arts schools are like Cobra Kai, but they shouldn't be like that. Nobody should be solving their problems with sparring, okay? That's not what it's for. So just get a good vibe for the place, and that's going to be the best thing you can do. Vibe check always trumps everything else. Except the no-touch takedowns. That trumps vibe checks, for sure. heading out of town. We're going to see how good a job I can do keeping track of everything on the road. I will check back in tomorrow.